Good afternoon, my friends. It's truly a pleasure to see so many of you here today. I want to begin by saying something very simple, but very important. If you are over 70, your body is not broken. It is not worn out beyond repair. And it is certainly not too late to improve your health in meaningful ways. My name is Dr. Antonio Miles. I've spent more than 4 decades practicing medicine, studying metabolic health, aging, circulation, and the extraordinary ways the human body adapts and heals. Over those 40 years, I have treated tens of thousands of patients, people in their 30s, their 50s, their 70s, and well into their 90s. And if there is one lesson I have learned that surprises people the most, it is this: the body often begins healing faster after 70 than most doctors expect when you give it the right signals. Now I want to start today with a story from my clinic, because sometimes a single patient can teach us more than 1,000 textbooks. About 7 years ago, a gentleman named Robert walked into my office. Robert was 78 years old. He moved slowly. He had a cane in one hand and his daughter supporting him on the other side. His legs were swollen. His feet were cold. His skin had that pale, slightly bluish color that physicians recognize immediately as poor circulation. And Robert said something to me that I will never forget. He said, "Doctor, I'm not afraid of dying, but I am afraid of losing my independence." Many of you here know exactly what he meant, because circulation problems don't just affect the heart. They affect your legs, your brain, your energy, your ability to walk to the mailbox, to play with grandchildren, to stand in the kitchen and cook dinner. Robert had been told the same thing many older adults hear. Your arteries are aging. It's normal at your age. Take these medications and try to stay comfortable. Now, medications can be important. I prescribe them when necessary, but there is something the medical system often overlooks. Your blood vessels are not just pipes. They are living tissue. They respond to signals from your food, your microbiome, your hormones, and your cells every single day. And in Robert's case, after we looked carefully at his diet and lifestyle, we made one very simple change. Not a drug, not surgery, one vegetable. Now I know that sounds almost ridiculous. A single vegetable. But within 3 weeks, something remarkable happened. Robert came back to my clinic without the cane. Within 6 weeks, the swelling in his legs had decreased dramatically. Within 3 months, he was walking a mile every morning. And what changed his circulation more than anything else was something that most grocery stores sell for less than $2: beets. Now, today I want to talk to you about something that most doctors never fully explain: why circulation begins to decline after 70. What is actually happening inside your arteries? Why one specific vegetable has a unique ability to restore blood flow, and how you can use this knowledge safely and effectively. Because by the end of this session, you will understand something that could change how your body delivers oxygen, nutrients, and energy to every organ you have. And the truth is this: improving circulation is not just about your heart. It is about your brain, your muscles, your kidneys, your skin, your memory, and even how long you stay independent. So lean forward for a moment, because what I'm about to explain may completely change how you think about aging blood vessels. Your arteries are not failing because of age alone. They are starving for a signal your body has slowly forgotten how to produce. And today, we're going to wake that signal back up. Now let's talk about the problem. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine that your body is a vast city, not a small town. A massive city with trillions of citizens. Every cell in your body is like a resident of that city. Your brain is the command center. Your organs are the factories. Your muscles are the transportation hubs. And your blood vessels, your arteries and veins, are the highways and roads that connect everything together. Now, here's the key point. If the roads in a city begin to narrow, if traffic slows, if supplies stop arriving, the city begins to struggle. Factories shut down. Workers become exhausted. Garbage piles up. And eventually, the entire system begins to fail. This is exactly what happens in the body when circulation declines. But here is something most people don't realize. Circulation problems rarely start in the heart. They start in the lining of your blood vessels. There is a very thin layer of cells inside every artery in your body. We call it the endothelium. Think of it like the traffic control system of your circulatory highways. These cells decide when blood vessels expand, when they tighten, how blood flows, and how oxygen gets delivered to tissues. When you are young, this system works beautifully. Your arteries expand easily. Blood flows smoothly. Oxygen reaches your muscles and brain without effort. But as we age, something subtle begins to change. The endothelium begins producing less of a very important molecule called nitric oxide. And nitric oxide is one of the most powerful circulation regulators in the human body. It relaxes arteries. It opens blood vessels. It improves oxygen delivery. It even helps prevent blood clots and inflammation. In simple language, nitric oxide tells your arteries to relax and widen. Now here's the problem. By the time most people reach 70, nitric oxide production may decline by as much as 50%. 50%. And when that happens, arteries become stiff, blood flow becomes restricted, muscles receive less oxygen, the brain receives less fuel, and suddenly people begin experiencing symptoms they assume are just aging. Cold feet, fatigue when walking, leg pain, memory fog, slow wound healing, rising blood pressure. How many of you here have experienced at least one of those symptoms? This is where the story becomes even more interesting, because the decline of nitric oxide is not simply about age. It is about lifestyle signals, and unfortunately, modern life quietly sabotages nitric oxide production. Processed foods, low vegetable intake, excess salt, poor gut bacteria, lack of sunlight, certain medications, even antibacterial mouthwash. Yes, you heard that correctly. The bacteria in your mouth actually help convert nutrients into nitric oxide. And when we disrupt that system, we weaken one of the body's most elegant circulation pathways. So what happens over time? The highways of the body slowly narrow. Traffic slows, cells become underfed, and circulation deteriorates. But here's the remarkable thing. The body still remembers how to restore nitric oxide production. And that brings us to the science. Now I want you to stay with me here because this part is fascinating. Inside your body, there are actually two major pathways that produce nitric oxide. The first pathway relies on an enzyme called nitric oxide synthase. This enzyme converts an amino acid called L-arginine into nitric oxide. But this pathway becomes less efficient with aging. Inflammation interferes with it. Oxidative stress damages it. And as we grow older, the system simply produces less nitric oxide. But the body has a backup system. And this second system is where beets enter the story. Beets are extraordinarily rich in something called dietary nitrates. Now, nitrates have gotten a bad reputation over the years because of proshi, said meats, but plant nitrates behave very differently. When you eat nitrate-rich vegetables, something remarkable happens. The nitrates enter your bloodstream. Then they circulate to your salivary glands. From there, they enter your saliva. And the bacteria living in your mouth convert those nitrates into nitrites. When you swallow those nitrites, they enter your stomach and bloodstream and are transformed into nitric oxide. This entire process is called the nitrate-nitrate oxide pathway. And it is one of the most elegant biological recycling systems in human physiology. Now let's walk through the timeline. Within the first hour after eating nitrate-rich vegetables, nitrate levels begin rising in the bloodstream. Within 2 to 3 hours, nitrite levels increase significantly. Within 4 to 6 hours, nitric oxide production begins expanding blood vessels. Blood pressure can drop. Oxygen delivery improves. Muscle efficiency increases. And here's the most astonishing part. Studies show that beet-derived nitrates can improve blood vessel dilation by up to 20%. That is a massive change in circulatory function. In older adults, this can mean the difference between restricted blood flow and vibrant circulation. But the real turning point in this entire story is something called endothelial reactivation. This is the moment when blood vessels begin responding again. Think back to our city metaphor. For years, the highways have been congested. Traffic has slowed. Deliveries are delayed. Then suddenly, a signal arrives. Traffic lights reset. Roads widen. Traffic begins flowing again. That is what nitric oxide does inside your arteries. And when nitric oxide levels rise, something magical happens. The endothelium wakes up. Blood vessels regain flexibility. Microcirculation improves. Even tiny capillaries begin delivering oxygen more efficiently. This is why athletes sometimes use beet juice before competitions, because improved circulation means improved oxygen delivery. But for older adults, the implications are even more profound. Better circulation can improve walking endurance, brain oxygenation, kidney filtration, and even cognitive function. Now I want to pause here because there are some myths we need to address. The first myth I hear constantly is this: circulation decline is inevitable after 70. This is not only wrong, it is physiologically backwards. Your blood vessels remain dynamic tissues throughout life. They respond to signals. They respond to nutrients. And they can absolutely improve function even in the 8th or 9th decade of life. The second myth is that supplements are the only way to improve nitric oxide. In reality, whole foods, especially nitrate-rich vegetables, activate this system far more effectively. The third myth is that all nitrates are harmful. This confusion comes from processed meats, where nitrates combine with high heat and preservatives. Plant nitrates behave very differently. Vegetables come packaged with antioxidants, vitamin C, and polyphenols that protect the body. Now let me tell you about the clinical evidence. One study from a British cardiovascular research group examined older adults consuming beet juice daily for 4 weeks. At the end of the study, participants experienced measurable improvements in blood vessel dilation, reduced blood pressure, and enhanced muscle oxygenation. Another trial involving adults over 70 found that dietary nitrate improved walking endurance and reduced fatigue during moderate exercise. And in my own clinical practice, I have seen this pattern again and again. Patients with cold feet regain warmth, leg pain diminishes, energy improves, even mental clarity sharpens. Now, does this mean beets are a miracle cure? Of course not. But they activate a biological pathway that aging bodies desperately need. So now, let me give you the practical protocol. If you want to use this vegetable for circulatory health, consistency matters. 2 to 3 servings of nitrate-rich vegetables per day. Beets are the star of the show, but spinach, arugula, and Swiss chard are also powerful. Roasted beets, fresh beet juice, grated beets in salads, even beet smoothies. Timing matters too. Consuming nitrate-rich foods earlier in the day supports circulation during active hours. And here's a surprising tip. Avoid antibacterial mouthwash right before or after eating nitrate-rich vegetables, because those mouth bacteria are essential to the conversion process. Stay hydrated, walk regularly. Movement amplifies nitric oxide signaling, and within 2 to 4 weeks, many people begin noticing warmer hands, improved stamina, and better blood pressure readings. Now, I do want to say something important about who should be cautious. People taking medications for blood pressure should speak with their physician before dramatically increasing nitrate intake, because improved circulation may enhance the effects of medication. Individuals with kidney disease should also consult their healthcare provider, and those with certain rare metabolic conditions may need personalized guidance. This is always about working with your body, not against it. Now, before we close, I want to return to Robert, the gentleman who walked into my clinic with a cane. 3 months after we introduced nitrate-rich vegetables into his diet, he came back smiling. But the real moment that stayed with me happened 6 months later. Robert told me he had taken his granddaughter to the park. He walked beside her. No cane, no pain, and he said something that made the entire room quiet. He said, "Doctor, I feel like the blood came back to my legs." Now, scientifically, that's N. Not exactly what happened, but in a way, it is. Because his arteries began opening again. Oxygen began flowing again. Life began returning to tissues that had been underfed for years. And that is the extraordinary power of giving your body the signals it was designed to respond to. The human body is not fragile. It is adaptable. It is intelligent. And even after 70, it can still respond with astonishing resilience. So if there is one sentence I want you to remember when you leave here today, it is this. Sometimes the difference between decline and renewal is not found in a pill bottle, but in the quiet biological power of the foods nature has been offering us all along. Thank you for being here today. And if you try this approach over the next few weeks, I would love to hear what changes you notice. Your circulation might surprise you.